So, yeah. Yeah, we need those 9 and
Ladies and gentlemen, it is 6 o'clock on Monday, February the 12th, 2024. The regular meeting of Monticello District 882 is called to order. Before we rise for the pledge, I know that many of you that have been here before have noticed that we've engaged in some interior decorating. And so we have rearranged the boardroom a little bit so it might look different to folks that are watching as well. So please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic,
which stands one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
We want to welcome everyone that's here this evening. We do have kind of a full boardroom, and I'm always proud to look out and see lots of folks here. Before we approve the agenda, I'd like to note that Board Member Jeff Hegle is missing this evening. We do still have a quorum of members and can proceed with the meeting. So at this point, we need to approve our tentative agenda to be the agenda for the evening.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. We have no citizens' comments for this evening. Moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, our fiscal stability. This is a consent agenda. For those that don't know what that means, it means that we get all of the items together as a packet ahead of time. The board has ample time to ask questions of the administrators that prepare the documents for us. We do approve the minutes, the personnel matters, bills, P-card, Amazon, and wires as a consent single action item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to our collaborative connections, Superintendent Olson is going to discuss a resolution for acceptance of gifts. Those of you that watch the meetings or are here regularly know that we are incredibly grateful because every single meeting we have very generous donations from the community for many different programs and services within our district. So Superintendent Olson, do you want to please discuss the resolution, the items for gifts?
Right, the first two are both from the Minnesota State High School League. The first one is for help in the free and reduced activity fee, and the second one is to be able to apply towards a defibrillator. And Mr. Revnick is here as he put these on the agenda, but he always does a great job of finding all the little grants or the little pieces of funding that we can attach ourselves to from the Minnesota State High School League. And then the third donation is Christensen Group Insurance for $500. And that's to sponsor the Summer Resilience Conference.
So we have a resolution for the acceptance of gifts. Those of you that are capable of doing quick mental math will note that that's $5,000 plus in donations in just one meeting, and that is incredibly grateful. And we can never say thank you enough to our generous donors in the community because these are programs that we would otherwise not be able to provide. We have a resolution for the acceptance of gifts that's going to be read by Vice Chair Jamie Sieben.
Therefore, be it resolved by the Monticello School Board Number 882 to gratefully accept the following donations. Minnesota High School League Foundation for $2,563 in support for Monticello High School free and reduced activity fee. Minnesota High School League Foundation $2,000 for the high school defibrillator. Christensen Group Insurance $500. Sponsorship of the Resiliency Conference.
All those in favor of approving the resolution for acceptance of gifts as written, please respond by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item B, we're getting into some really exciting parts of our agenda. We have a lot of people here today. One of them is our transportation partners from Hoagland Transportation. We do have a Bus Driver Appreciation Day that's coming up, that's either statewide or nationwide, I think, as well, nationwide. And we just have some additional expressions of our appreciation to our bus driver colleagues for the incredible work that they have done coming out of COVID in particular. It was a very challenging time, and recruitment and retention of bus drivers continues to be a problem nationwide, and we are extremely fortunate in our community that we've had so many dedicated drivers, and we've had such a longtime partner in Hoagland. So Vice Chair Jamie Sieben, who is our transportation liaison from the board, has some remarks.
We have a letter of appreciation for them, so I'm just going to read it, and then we'll just talk a few things about them afterwards. Dear Hegle Transportation, on behalf of the Monticello School District Number 882 School Board, I'm writing to express our sincerest appreciation and gratitude to all of the dedicated bus drivers and staff at Hegle Transportation on this special occasion of Bus Driver Appreciation Day. Each day, your bus drivers and staff play a crucial role in ensuring the safe transportation of our students to and from school. They exhibit professionalism, kindness, and patience in their interactions with our students, making their journey to and from school and activities a pleasant and secure experience. Your drivers' commitment to safety and excellence does not go unnoticed. They navigate through various road conditions and weather challenges with skill and diligence, prioritizing the well-being of our students above all else. We recognize the significant impact that your bus drivers have on our school community, and we are truly grateful for their unwavering dedication and service. Their positive influence extends beyond transportation. They contribute to creating a nurturing and supportive environment for our students. A friendly smile in the morning by your drivers makes a significant difference in our students' academic experience and is what sets your local company apart from the rest. Please convey our heartfelt thanks to each and every bus driver at Hegle Transportation. Their hard work and dedication are invaluable to our school district, and we are incredibly fortunate to have them as part of our team. Once again, thank you for your continued partnership and for the exceptional service provided by your bus drivers. We look forward to continuing our collaboration and ensuring the safety and well-being of our students. And for some of you who don't know, we're really fortunate that we have a local bus company that services our students, and a lot of people that work for them are our community members right here living amongst us and have kids that ride the bus and family members too, which just makes them that much better than the rest. And so I know myself and the rest of the school board truly thank you for your hard work and dedication to our community.
You want to invite him?
If you want to come on up, we have a certificate and a letter for you.
Joe, do you have any remarks you'd like to make?
I came here. The other way. Mr. Olson asked me a month ago or so, did you find something for, we change times next year for our kids to have, standing out at their bus stops? So, one of our ladies researched a bunch of lights. They're just lights that go on your backpack on your person. When our little people out there earlier in the morning, lights on. And we've been testing them this year already with some of our bus drivers. It is amazing how far you can see. The first one, started with one that was very similar to this, but that breaks, the thing broke off, and the one that the state patrol for it, they take the batteries on, they protect them. We kept away from that style. We don't want that. The other one is that I haven't had him in at the line. So I said, Dad,
Like me?
help us out. I've never asked my dad ever. Came from the line. This was a and the line paid for these. They agreed to pay for all of this year's, all of next year's, all of the next year's, and the next year's kindergarten. They're about $1. After the first few years, if somebody breaks or have stopped, you just get for $100. I think times ago I was Well, I happen to have an in at the high school. My wife collaborated with, there's collaborated with to get CPR training at the high school. Do it for free for you guys. And I call that same thing, and they'll do it for $40 out of our 86 employees, 25 cents.
That would put us way a step ahead of, safety-wise, many other places to have all of our drivers, or most of them, CPR and first aid certified.
And what part would you want to do it when we talk number? It's,
I bribed them.
yeah, I'm driving. 4 hours and 33 minutes of video. Our own testers, we're going to have our own mannequins, so we can pay those people.
That is incredibly, incredibly good news. I'm really happy for the community to know that we spearheaded something like that that could make a real difference in the level of preparedness on all of our buses. That's exciting.
One last thing, just to shoot our own horn. We're also not the Chamber of Commerce. We did not win Alzheimer's one, but I learned something when I was at that banquet that we may be the largest in the school district or the hospital and that kind of stuff. So when they gave the speech about us, I go, true. But that's pretty cool. I didn't mean any better than me, you know how it goes.
Next week,
But I appreciate it when contract this by Von Hanson's, and it's just a fun. If anybody ever wants to come see our kids and people, that's our. We have our kindergartners come to our office, and there's a school bus. Not the teachers have fun together going to this. So anybody wants to come see, bring their little people. We're all. Thank you.
Well, we just have all kinds of good news to share with the community tonight, and that's always makes it a good board meeting when we have that kind of message to send. Next on our list, item C, is a presentation by our Monticello Middle School STEM department, our two teachers, Jill Kudrowski and Casey Munson. As if you've followed school board meetings through the year, you've been hearing a lot about the STEM department and the new STEM lab. They've received a lot of donations and a lot of accolades. Our STEM program has become a model for other schools, and we've had people coming to tour and get ideas for their own districts on how to do that. So with that said, I'd like to welcome to the podium Casey Munson and Jill Kudrowski and their 4 students, Jaden, Olivia, Natalie, and Preston. Good job wearing your Monty Magic clothes tonight.
Teachers. And for this presentation, we just wanted to talk a little bit. As the board knows, we got the opportunity to attend the MSBA Leadership Conference as one of the schools in the showcase. And so this was a really big deal, not only for Ms. Kudrowski and myself, but we got to choose some students to come with us. And we want to take this time to kind of celebrate the opportunity that our kids had. As I mentioned, for Jill and I, it was awesome to kind of, just have that validation of all of the hard work that we've gone through. But for us, seeing these awesome students and like how great of a job they did talking about their learning, and just speaking about their experiences, and then just to experience something different, going to the cities as a group, and getting to view all of the different booths there, just a kind of cool experience for them. So we're actually going to open it up and have them talk about their experience a little bit, just to share not only their experience at the conference, but then just some of their experiences in the STEM lab in general. So Olivia, I'm gonna let you take over.
Some favorite memories and things I enjoyed were going to the convention center to show off what we have at MMS and getting opportunities to represent the STEM lab, learning in the lab to help discover what I enjoyed doing, and I really liked doing the hands-on work. The modules I've been in are ophthalmology, CAD and design, nursing, criminalistics, research and development, and energy and power. My top two were CAD and design and criminalistics.
My favorite memory was going to the convention center to talk to people about what a fun class and experience we got to have here at our middle school. Doing hands-on projects, learning about what I like to do and what I don't, and getting to represent our STEM lab. Some modules I've been in is computer graphics and game design, sports medicine, intro to engineering and design, home maintenance systems, research and development, and home maintenance fundamentals. My top two were sports medicine and home maintenance system.
My favorite memory was a memory that I have is going to the convention center, talking to people about all the fun stations we have and how it can help us. Lab station I want to do is sports medicine and research and designing CO2 cars. My stations were dentistry, structural engineering, and biomedical engineering. My top two were dentistry and structural engineering.
A memory I have is going to the convention center to talk to people. The rotations I've been in is biomedical engineering, sports medicine, and dentistry. Lab stations I want to do is nursing, research, and design CO2 cars.
So this is our STEM Lab showcase. As you can see, it's April 22nd. Please mark your calendar. Last year, we had an absolutely amazing turnout for our first year. Over 100 community members, staff members, families, parents of these wonderful young students. Again, we'd like to emphasize how incredible this opportunity was to truly bring students down to the Minneapolis Convention Center and have them present, meet and greet tons and tons of other schools, board members, superintendents. It was awesome. The students did an amazing job of handing out flyers, talking about their experiences. And I guess the most incredible thing for us as teachers was on the way home to hear one of these students was actually asked to shadow their dream job, an architect. And the best part was the student went around to all the other booths and met this person themselves. We didn't introduce them. They went around and found this booth. And again, the opportunity for them to not even intern at this level, but just job shadow and see what they really can do is awesome. And again, thank you to you school board members for always accepting our generous donations to keep the STEM Lab a successful program. So any questions for these young scholars?
Is there a station that we don't have that you think would be really cool to have?
We have everything.
Well, that's not the
We did just
right.
add 2 more modules. So all these students had a semester 1. I can talk into the mic. All of these students had a semester 1. Right now, we just had, as you saw in school board, UMC donated digital manufacturing, so that station's up and going, which is 3D printing, and UMC donated environment and ecology, which will be up and running next lab rotation.
Any questions from the board? For those in the audience that don't know about the Minnesota School Board Association Annual Leadership Conference, these students were exposed to somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 participants, which is an extraordinary number of people. And I really commend you, young folks. It's not easy to talk to old people that might have weird questions for you or something like that. But this was a great opportunity also for we as adults to show students what lifelong learning is all about. So we do have some certificates for you, and we have some bling for the walls of your, for For those that get the Monticello Times, they did a lovely 1/2-page article on our STEM lab and our students that attended that, and that was just wonderful to see that kind of support from our local newspaper.
And these students, when we had the opportunity, Kathy and I, to actually see them in action and watching their communication skills, making great solid eye contact with whoever was at their booth, explaining how to do everything from, fixing a doorknob to a kitchen sink. It was a really unique experience, and watching them being able to communicate and teach others was awesome. They're definitely leaders, not just in the classroom, but throughout the district.
Well, the pictures going on, I just like to fill air here too, but I just, I will never forget that day watching the students and their engagement that they had on their faces and how they, like Board Member Sieben said, they just stepped up and greeted people, just pulled them in with their amazing discussion skills, and they were very, very great teachers that night. Or that day, we were so lucky to have them down there representing Monticello Public Schools.
And for the parents in the audience, if you'd like a picture with your students after the meeting, we'll be around.
And or if you have other things to do tonight, make sure, remember, you don't have to stay always for the whole meeting. I'm going to help the families out just in case they have double things going on tonight.
Why would they want to leave?
I don't know, man.
Let's give a hand for our. Moving on to more good news in our community, we have with us this evening the Monticello Royal Ambassador Program. This is the second year that we've invited the Monticello Royal Ambassadors to a board meeting. All of the students that are going to speak with us today are senior students at our high school, representing our community as well. So I'd like to welcome to the podium Katrina Hellman, Ellie Lageson, and Brianna Holker. Welcome to the board. Thanks for wearing red.
So, hi, I'm Katrina.
I'm Ellie. I'm Brianna Holker. And we just wanted to say a big thank you for giving this opportunity for us to speak about the amazing program we're part of. And we've made a slideshow video kind of just showing what the program's been like during our year and explaining a little bit more about what it is.
Wait, did we click it? Want me to? Or, there we go. All right. My screen. So we start our candidacy in about, I would say, probably end of March, and then it goes up until Crown. And even during candidacy, we learn a lot of different things, whether that is through public speaking and confidence and building friendships.
And we didn't just start learning that, obviously it started during candidacy, but once that crown hit our head, we had to learn a lot about what it meant to be a leader and how to show leadership. And then we also learned a lot about what public speaking is.
And then we also created many friendships with towns around us, and then even from faraway places. And it's been a really amazing experience to create these new friendships. We also represent in our town by doing community events and just being leaders to everyone out there.
We also get to represent our town within other communities. Our favorites have been Anoka, and we attend so many parades and get to talk about what Monticello is like.
And we are so honored to be your Monticello Royal Ambassadors. It's been an amazing experience so far.
Yes. Again, thank you so much for letting us talk about this program. We're so honored that we get to represent this town for the year and get to share this experience with other people.
My understanding is this is also a scholarship opportunity for you folks as well. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And can you, any questions for the rest of the board for our students?
I have a question. How has this program changed you the most?
For me personally, I was pretty bad at public speaking, and I was really, very shy. And I think it's let me get out of my comfort zone and be able to obviously public speak, but also to get to know people around our community that you wouldn't expect, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely say I was pretty shy too in this has helped me branch out, and I get to do a lot more within the community at, like, obviously parades, but we get to go to little events. We helped box baskets for food donations with the Lions at Dahlheimer's, and that was an amazing opportunity that not everyone gets to participate in. So.
For me, it's definitely my confidence. I think it's helped me a lot with public speaking, but also just going up to people. Like, I was very shy going up to people and just, like, introducing myself, but now I think that I could do it. Could go up and meet new people.
What has been your favorite thing so far?
I have to say the Anoka Halloween parade. We dressed up. We themed our float to the Lorax, and we went all out. We got second place in the contest they had going, but it was so fun to see everyone's outfits and take pictures and seeing the little kids' faces light up and recognize that we were themed like the Lorax. It was so fun.
I think one of my favorites was St. Paul Winter Carnival. It's a 3-day event, and we get to stay in the cities. But there were so many people that we were able to meet and make friendships with, and then also just how different they do their crowning ceremony and how many people are involved in this little program.
Yeah, I would definitely say St. Paul Winter Carnival and Anoka, but I also really like the not the Maple Lake Ball. That's coming up this weekend. The Anoka Ball and the Albertville Ball. They're really fun because it's just a good time for the royalty, just kind of chillax, take a step back, but have a good time with girls from other communities. And then we have a little dance party. It's pretty fun.
So there's obviously a lot of planning that goes into this in preparation. You guys spoke of your costumes and floats, and you're obviously all completely matching today. Who's all behind all of that?
Our committee, definitely, once we start off the program, they make sure they point us in the right direction outfit-wise, and they make sure that we all are looking sharp and making sure our hair looks nice and our crowns are pretty. But after a while, we start to stand with that and pick out our own stuff. And yeah.
How about your floats?
Big thank you to our parents too.
Yes, our parents are the number one people for floats. They
decorate it.
They put hours of time into that float and make sure that it looks amazing.
If I recall correctly, it's sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce downtown as well. And that's yet another collaborative connection that we have. They have sponsors for the program, as local businesses as well. So.
Completely read it. Her husband's did a lot of work on it, so Dad Brad. I think it looks fabulous.
Awesome. Well, I know it's a lot of work. I know Brianna, she was on the swim team, so I know her well, and I also know the schedule that they uphold. So not only are they students in school, they're in extracurricular activities, but on top of that, they're serving our community and representing us, and I know it's a lot of work because I saw how you were in 3 different places at once, even during swim season, and so thank you guys for your commitment and what you're doing.
Thank you.
Can you share a little bit about what your plans are, if you have plans for next year?
I am planning on attending Winona State for movement science.
I will be going to the University of Minnesota Duluth to pursue my major of art education.
I plan on going to Winona as well. I'm still a little bit iffy on what I want to major in, but I think it's going to be something in business.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I'm hopeful that that you'll be able to maybe do some recruiting this spring as the candidate season opens up, maybe at the high school, if they'll, in the past, they've allowed them to put up a table and do some recruiting. So I think this is one of our successful collaborative connections. We have some certificates for you ladies. Come over to the Big M. Thank you to our Monticello ambassadors. Now we're going to get into some serious academic stuff. So we're moving into number 7 on our agenda, teaching and learning. And we have an approval for some new courses. This will be an action item, and our Monticello High School principal, Lori Hansen, is here to talk with us about the new courses that they're offering. Thank you, and welcome to the...
Good evening, everyone. Actually, I've got a crew of 3 that are going to join me here. We have 5 new courses that we want to provide for approval, so I'm going to let them speak to the specifics of it. We'll present all 5. We'll pause after each one for clarification or questions, and then we'll seek approval at the end, if that's okay. As just kind of a reminder, the last few years, we've put a lot of time and effort into really auditing our programming, listening to student needs, student requests, student inventory, to really diversify and enhance our career and college opportunities. So under that kind of philosophy, we're going to come with 5 courses that we feel have a strong student interest. So I'm going to start with Mr. Herfindahl.
Hi, sorry I'm loud. I want to talk about a class we're proposing called Music and Theatrical Technology. In deciding a course, as we look every year as a music department, we're trying to find maybe courses that reach out to a different group of students than what we normally would have in some of our music classes. So we have the music ensembles, and we have the guitar courses, and we have the music theory courses, and we have the unified music courses. But there's this whole niche of students that might be interested in something maybe behind the scenes, maybe less performance and maybe more, lighting, sound, that type of thing. So that's kind of our framework for coming up with a class like this. It's a single trimester course, no prerequisites. It's open. It'd be open for students in 9th through 12th grade. In looking at some of what it could do, I think it could serve as a training program for students from the school that want to work for community ed in our spaces when we have vendors come in to rent our facilities. This would be an opportunity to train them on our soundboard and our light board and get a good sense of how those systems work. In general, they'd gain a fundamental understanding of how the technical aspects of theater work. And I think just from an exposure perspective, I don't know that our students realize all of the careers that are out there behind the scenes, that they're paying people to be backstage, to call shows, and all these other things, and to run the lights and run the sound. And so I think that's a whole another avenue for just future work opportunities or career paths. They'll be doing audio board operation, light board operation, sound recording, amplification, learning about acoustics, all those sorts of things. I think the framework for the curriculum has the opportunity in future years to either become a pathways course or to be partnered with something like Central Lakes College for a CIS class. So I think as far as a career readiness class, I think it's something that we don't have, and I think it's something that we could really utilize. So that's why we sort of, as a music team, came up with this idea. Questions at the end or questions now? Any questions?
So, yeah, I think it's a good program, good offering if it does get approved. On the additional staffing cost, estimate of cost of students, everything's NA, so my assumption is that you have everything you need for this class already.
Right. So what the strategy we're taking is put a registration handbook together that has X number of classes offered, and then kind of see where the students' interests lie. So that we may have classes that are offered next year, and they're in the program, their handbook every year, but maybe they don't get offered the year after, right? They meet the needs of the students. So from a staffing perspective, it's obviously going to trimesters helps because you get more bites of the apple. And so it shouldn't be a staffing situation because, we can 6 of one, half dozen of the other and make it fit in the puzzle. All right, thank you.
Erin Idlebus is one of our science teachers. She's been with us, this is her 2nd year. She's going to present 2 classes for you. One is forensics and one is a STEAM lab.
I'll start with forensics. This is something I taught at my previous district. It basically looks at criminal science through the lens of physics, earth science, chemistry, biology, basically connects them all together. It's something that students interested in a career in science, lab testing, or law enforcement might be interested in. It'll look into mainly like the FBI units as well as the criminal or the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in the state of Minnesota and how they conduct things.
Again, with a similar philosophy to what Mr. Herfindahl was talking about, it's an offering that we would put in our course catalog, and then student interest would drive how often or how frequent we would put our schedule. So we would offer it now, it may or may not here. We wanted to put in there, have offerings available as we continue to expand our programming.
Does this class have a lab component to it, or is it all academic discussion?
It would have labs. It'd be like everything that we already have for science labs would be sufficient.
No additional equipment would be needed or anything?
No additional equipment.
And if I remember right, our STEM lab at the middle school has a forensic section, so this would be a nice continuation of that field of study.
We make criminology at 8th grade, so ours would just be that in upper level, so 11th and 12th grade. Elective option.
Any further questions from the board? Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for bringing that here, and bringing that value to our district. So we appreciate that.
STEAM lab, so looking at science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. My main idea behind it is letting students develop solutions to real-world problems. So I had some units that I've done in the past where it's wind-powered cars or looking at ocean acidification and how to reduce the effects of that. And just kind of allowing them to look at what they're interested in and using engineering design to solve those problems. And I like adding the art in because honestly, if scientists designed things, it wouldn't look so great. So adding that in to give them, like, your phone wouldn't look the way it is without artists.
And again, with a similar understanding, this would fit, it would be a 9th through 12th grade elective, and it would fit into our current staffing, current lab space. She's got a pretty developed idea of where she wants to go and the frameworks to build it. The just staff development under our current model that we're looking to support staff as we transition into 24-25. So it would not be additional out of pocket for this one either. Any other questions for Aaron? Okay, and lastly, we have Ms. Fredericks here with a unified facts. Unified facts.
How do I make it go to the next one? Right there. All right. So I'm here to propose a unified facts course. I know you guys are familiar with the unified setup. My coworker and I, Alyssa Ambrosius, we saw a need for more course offerings for our special needs students, talking with, their case managers of where can we put our students? And our courses are very popular among that demographics. And so we looked at the problem and we came up with a solution. How about a unified facts class? And so what this course would kind of be a little sampling of all of our classes in one trimester. They would do everything from culinary to teen issues to fabric arts to interior design, and it would just be a small sampling and bringing students of all ability level and having them collaborate together. And wouldn't require any additional funding. We would use everything that we have already available to us for this unique opportunity. Oops, sorry.
I have a question just about the balance of general education and special education students. Do you try to maintain like a 1-to-1 ratio, or do you have some desired targets for enrollment?
I think we would probably work together with our admin and looking at what's been done in the past with the other unified courses and also taking into consideration, the unique structure of what our course is and what we're going to be offering and take some advice in that direction of, how it could be balanced and how it should be balanced. So, yeah. And this will be open to 9th through 12th grade too, so it won't be limited. Limiting the opportunities too of what students can take it. Sorry.
Can you fill us in on what we've done in the past with that balance?
Yep, I can speak. And actually, Mr. Herfindahl had offered this year a unified music class, and that's a little, as it's a first-year class, I would say it's a little heavier, a little lower gen ed, and a little higher with our students with disabilities. I think that's gaining popularity and traction. When you look at our unified ed class, that's a very popular class. That's almost a 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 ratio of gen ed and special ed students. With this particular class, and then we also approved the unified art class, we're gonna have to learn what that looks like in a little bit more unique hands-on environment. So my gut tells me we're gonna offer a little bit more conservative numbers until we see what we need to see and what we need to learn. And then we'll look at opening up greater enrollment. It's easier to do it well the first time, make sure that we know the mistakes that we're gonna make and kind of work out the bugs, especially when we're talking art. Then when we go into the facts, we're talking culinary, cooking, sewing machines, all of the things. So my initial thought is a lower enrollment, almost a 1-to-1, maybe a 2-to-1 gen ed to special ed. But again, we'll see what student interest looks like.
Hey, one other thing, I'm sorry. One thing too with the culinary aspect of it, right now when we have special ed students come into our culinary classes, they are having, to join a culinary class and having to have, us make accommodations for them with what our lab is. And right now those labs include using an oven, using a stove. And my thought with this is when we're looking at culinary labs for this class, I wanted to reach out and kind of talk to some parents who have students, in their homes, that have students with special needs and ask them, what are some things that you want your child to know? So if they have that opportunity to live independently or, to make a meal, what should they know? Because most likely some of them aren't going to be using the oven, and I have, a pair in my room right now whose son is in his late 20s. Yes, he still lives with them, but he is making meals independently, and I've been kind of talking to her about this class, and she said, you're right. He doesn't use the oven, but he has a master at the microwave, and he can use the toaster, and here's how he makes his grilled cheese. And I said, can I bounce some ideas off of you? And she was super excited, and she says, yes, please do. Now, everybody's abilities are different, so I get where some can do this, others aren't, everyone's gonna be different, so if we could find that happy medium. But to know that this is going to be geared more for that versus us trying to have them meet where that higher level is, if that makes sense, what I'm trying to say. So.
If I understand right, the courses that have been presented tonight would be students in the high school would take them once. So there is not they wouldn't be able to enroll in them as a 9th grader and an 11th grader or 12th grader.
Well, ultimately, our goal is to diversify our programming so that we have
1, 2, and 3?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
I was going to ask if that was kind of down the road, especially for the unified class, unified 1, unified 2.
And they're highly popular, right? I mean, we have repeat enrollees for our unified music, for our unified PE class. We have a really great culture, and I cannot take any credit. That was established many, many years ago, that our high school students wrap their arms around all students of all abilities. So those unified classes, they fill up first, and I consistently have parents reach out and say, can you squeeze one more in? So we know that there is truly a value system in that building that loves these kind of classes and the opportunities that are built from it. And not only the opportunities, but I would say the relationships. So what I tell you today, I would love to see that we can expand on it, we can grow on it. I think we offer things and we see what it looks like for next year, and then we'll come back and tell you that, we were able to offer one for the year or one each try. We're starting our registration process here in the next couple weeks, so like very soon. My gut tells me these kind of classes speak to a really solid kid in our building that we just don't have enough opportunities.
And just to clarify, this is revenue neutral as well?
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And then I got one more. I forgot about Mr. Fruit. He snuck in when my back was to him, so I'm going to ask Mr. Fruit to come up here. He is a first-year teacher that we brought in and is part of our business department. Get this?
Snuck in before the head count.
Yeah, you did.
After the head count.
There you go.
Yes, new teacher to the district, but 8th year teaching overall. So I'm Kevin Pruitt. I am proposing an advertising and sales course. When I was talking with my colleagues in the business department, we saw that we were doing a fairly good job of covering business courses, but when it comes to career clusters, there's also marketing and finance. And so far for both those, we only have one course offered that fits those realms. So we thought of diversifying into the marketing section with an advertising and sales course. This course is one trimester. We offer it to 10th through 12th grades. Just like what we've said with all these other courses, we are looking at something that's geared towards students choosing it. So it might not be 2 sections or 3 sections, it might just be 1 if it gets to be ran. Things we wanted to focus on in the course are obviously advertising and sales, things like Shark Tank units, a large Super Bowl campaign where they will go through an entire ad campaign in lots of different ways, international sales, things of that nature. Any questions?
Just knowing where kids go when they go post-secondary, I do know that this is a big area of focus for our college-bound students. So having this opportunity will definitely give kids an experience before they go pay money to be in a program and see where they're at with their interest level. So I think it's a great idea.
To a lot of the work, that intentional exposure for them as they would echo that we're really trying to make offerings relevant to setting them up to explore and then get them beyond our forum. So.
One of the things that was discussed at length during the school district start times task committee was if we had remained on semesters, that students might have fewer choices as we move along because of the timing and all that sort of thing, and some of the new requirements coming down from the state of Minnesota. So one of the things that I'm really pleased to see here with these selection of new courses added is that we're actually adding courses, we're not taking courses away. And so there was a lot of concern about that about a year ago, and so this is very encouraging. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's easy for me to stand up here, but there's really been a tremendous buy-in from our staff to look at their departments, look at their offerings, and really have some constructive conversations around where do they need to diversify, or what do they need to offer students that makes it more hands-on, more relevant, more exploratory, kind of whatever those check boxes are that just really set kids up for career or college readiness. So it's easy for me to be the front of it, but really our staff has just bought in tremendously, and they're doing the hard work. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, I see the buy-in because moving from semesters to trimesters is not an easy process. So this is the rubber meets the road. We're actually being very proactive, I think, with the move to trimesters and making sure that our offerings are keeping up and exceeding what we perhaps had before. So
I would agree. The staff have been outstanding, and there have been some hard conversations and some hard decisions that we've had to sit in, but at the end of the day, they know that they're making the best system for kids. And so that is not lost on a single person at that building.
Yeah, it's good to see a plethora of options instead of just 1 or 2 that they're proposing just 1 or 2. There's, I think, 9 or 10 here.
So they'll all go into our course handbook if they get approved, and then student enrollment will kind of drive what we offer next year. And then what we know is that these are in our kind of our back pocket, and we continue to offer them and evaluate and then see what offers year 2.
One of the other things that I like about rolling this out without them being dual credit classes right away is oftentimes the teachers have to have certain certifications in order to offer an advanced placement or CIS type class. And this allows us to gauge the interest of the students before we invest in that process. So I just think that was a really wise way to roll this out. We'll see where we're at a year from now. And
We'll learn a lot over the next 2 months, I'll be very honest. When we sit at a meeting and give you an update, we'll know, we can make a lot of projections right now, and we'll know what that really looks like in 2 months.
Just as a school board and superintendent, we've been able to see you in a work session, and now we got to see 5 staff that just come forward and really do exactly what we're trying to do in the district, and that's keep kids at our focus. And I've heard you say that over and over again, and then I've heard you give the praise to their staff. And so it's really nice to have staff here tonight being part of this presentation. That means the world to us to know that it's your ideas and creativity and experiences that are bringing forth new opportunities to prepare kids not only for their academia, but also to be great citizens of our world. We need that, so thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to blend the rigorous academic and core content learning with really the vital skills. So we know that those things go hand in hand.
I couldn't agree more, the vital skills comment. And, advertising and sales is a pretty cutthroat industry out there. It can be pretty demanding, and I love that we would offer that. Mr. Fruit, welcome to Monticello. Can you tell us a little bit about your background or maybe the course materials that you'll use to help the kids gain some expertise in those areas?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I spent 6 years in a small town called Altoona, Wisconsin, and there I was a first-year teacher before going to Eden Prairie last year, and then this year here in Monticello. So
Good move.
Yeah, it was much worth the drive. I live in St. Michael, and my family, actually, my wife and I got married at the community center, so this is kind of roots for us. Anyway, so in Altoona, a school of about 450 students, I had 2 marketing courses, and my marketing one was very much driven by sales. Just sales in general, because when it comes to me and my marketing kind of philosophy, it's communication between business and customers. And so with that background, obviously sales is kind of the forefront. How you communicate with your customers, how they know about your products, how you promote those products are all important. And there's a lot of different areas of marketing, but sales to me is number one. So I'd say probably 8 weeks of a trimester at Altoona were based around sales. So I have lots of input there. In my previous work experience, before I became a teacher, I was actually working I did a summer of Cutco sales, so I sold knives door to door. And then I also spent about 2 years in banking, and I was essentially a head teller. So I would sell products often to new people that were coming in and trying to get them to the right products that they need. So I have a lot of content that's already ready and geared towards the course. Just need to find the right time to put it all together.
Very good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Hanson, for allowing your staff to be creative. I mean, not ruling from the top down and letting them explore a little bit of their own interest to put together stuff for our students. So thank you very much for that.
Don't say that too loud.
Well, it does speak to our environment that, we're here for the students. And I think that's really important. So this is an action item, board members. So we need to move these courses one way or another.
I move to approve the new courses as presented.
Seconded.
Moved by Melissa Curtis to approve the courses as presented, seconded by Jamie Sieben. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Thank you. We appreciate the support. Please know that.
Moving on to our district updates for mid-year, we want to welcome Cindy Foshing, our Director of Teaching and Learning, to the podium. She's going to give us an update on some of our academic measures. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you. Back up. There we go. All right. Good evening, Chair Ziebarth and board members, Mr. Olson, members, staff. I just want to give you a short mid-year update, mostly data that looks at elementary, but also in programming and school improvement efforts that we've made so far this year. Gavin, should I just let you know when to advance? I don't.
Technical difficulties.
I don't see it on my screen. So. Okay. All right, we got it. Ready? So we're going to start with our first goal. Our first district goal is literacy. And so if you recall, our literacy goal by the end of this school year with MCAs, our goal is to reach 60%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but is a 6% increase for us. We won't have that data until August. But we have just finished winter FastBridge screening. So that's the data that I'm going to share with you now, and we'll be looking at fall and winter data for FastBridge, and that's for grades K through 8. So for our our early reading, our goal was to get at 55% this spring. A reading is for grades K and 1. And then our early reading is grades 2 through 8, and our goal was to be at 70% this spring. Go ahead. I just wanted to give you a quick rundown on what these components are. I don't think I've done that before, so I think maybe it'd be good just to kind of take a look at them and see if you have any questions. So the early reading is for K through 1, as I said, and it really is like a thermometer. It's a predictor for successful reading by the end of kindergarten or first grade. And so it's really measuring at-risk students, students who are at risk of not reading at grade level. Mostly it measures concepts of print, phonemic awareness, phonics, and fluency. The A reading test is similar, but measures even more. So again, this one's an adaptive screener. And so what that means is as students get things right, it advances them a little bit more and a little bit more. And as they get things wrong, it'll kind of back up a little bit until it kind of hits the level that the student is at. So it's a broad measure of students' ability, measures everything that goes into reading strategies, including phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, orthography. So it measures everything. It's a broad screener for us. It does, again, give us a good picture of who's at risk of not reading at grade level. Then if you go into it even deeper, one of the subcomponents of, it's called our fast track reading, is called auto reading. So auto reading measures the automaticity, how quickly and how automatically do they have their foundational skills down. So that's letter names, sounds, decoding of words, spelling, synonyms, and so forth. So that gets very specific into more foundational skills instead of overarching reading skills like the A reading does. Okay, so it's more of a subcomponent. And then the CBM reading, sometimes otherwise known as oral reading fluency, that's really measuring a student's fluency. And so that's done one-on-one with a student in a 1-minute read, a grade level reading passage. And then the teacher will be marking errors that are made throughout as the automaticity with oral reading happens. So the CBM is one that we give to all students in grades 1 through 5, and then some of our 6 through 8 students also take it who are at risk, and we're really using that as a progress monitoring tool, but you'll see some of that in the data as well. So those are the 4 different FastBridge screeners that we give. The first one these are the results for K1 reading, early reading. Excuse me. You'll see there was a little bit of a drop. And I just want to look at the key on the bottom first. So the darker red or the dark pink, if you want to call it, those are our students at high risk. The in between the light pink is some risk, and then we have low risk. So the early reading measures those 3 risk categories. So overall, we did dip a little bit in the purple range. And then if you look at the darker red, you'll see that that got a little bit bigger. So our kids did take a dip in the winter screening. So across the bottom where you see the FWSS, that means fall data, winter data, and then spring data will come when we're done with that. And then the last S is summer data. We don't typically test in the summer, but just so that you know how to read those charts as we move forward. So you will see that we had, 54% of our students were at some risk or low risk early on in the fall, and then we're up to 57%. Some of that, I don't know if you've heard of the implementation dip before, but oftentimes when you implement a new curriculum that comes with all new reading strategies, comes with all new resources, for students and teachers alike, you might see a bit of a dip that's in the middle as we're learning how to use the programs and we're learning new instructional strategies. So sometimes you'll see that. Hopefully it bounces right back up again. If you go to the next one, we've got some bright spots. So if you take a look at some of these bright spots that we saw at kindergarten, the one on the upper left, you'll see in the purple range and the low risk range, it rose 17%. So we had a nice big jump in one of our kindergarten classes. And what we want to see when you're looking at this is from the F to the W, you want to see a drop in the red and a drop in the pink and an increase in the purple, right? So that's when we're looking at that, we want to see those trends. So that class on the upper left is what I would call an average ability kindergarten class. We are flexible grouping across kindergarten, where that means that students with highest risk may be together in the same classes, so teachers can hone in on specific strategies that they might be missing, and then it progresses upward from there to grade level. So they made a nice jump. If you look at the other chart, that group of students is our highest need group. In that group, we have a high level of EL students, special education students, and students who are at highest risk. In that room, we have our kindergarten teacher. We have an EL teacher who's pushing into that classroom. We have a special ed teacher who pushes into that classroom, and a Title I teacher who goes in there as well. That's what we call flood the classroom. So when you have all those high needs together in the same room, we flood that classroom with help. What I'm really happy to see here is that this group of students increased. It's not a great deal, but it did not decrease. So we decreased the number of students at high risk and low risk, and we increased some of the students at low risk, So that was really good to see in our kindergarten class. The next screen also shows bright spots in our first grade, similar stages. So the upper left you'll see is the average classroom that made some really great improvements, 29% up to a 55% of low risk. And then if you look at the high risk, it went from 38 down to 18. So we took a 20% drop in students with high risk. That's wonderful in that classroom. If you look at the one on the right, again, that's a group of students who are at very high risk. That's our lowest level of reading students in that grade, in first grade at that building. And they took also a 7% jump in low risk. So we're seeing some really good progress in pocketed areas. We're working very hard with reading coaches. We're working very hard with CARI, the Center for Applied Research and Reading Improvement, through the U of M, and getting some special training to help our teachers. So we're excited to see those. This is grades 2 through 8, A reading. Again, you'll see a little bit of a drop in the district level. And then if you look across in the benchmark categories, you'll see we made a little bit of an increase in our high risk and some risk. You'll notice there's an extra category across the bottom. So now we have high risk, some risk, low risk, and those who are right on track. So now they split it into 4 different risk categories for us in grades 2 through 8. So we've got some bright spots in grade 2. Our second grade students and teachers made significant gains, which is really, really encouraging to see. So if you look at just grade 2, and this includes all second graders across the district, they made a 10% jump in being at low risk or on track. And we decreased those number of kids at high risk by 40%. Whoops, back up just a sec. And then you'll see that large jump in the purple. So those are the things that we want to see across the board. And then if you go one more, oh, there we go. Sorry, go back one more. Auto reading. So this is auto reading. So remember, auto reading is measuring automaticity on foundational skills. Our auto reading scores, notice that the some risk went down by 7%, and then we went up by 5% in the low risk. So that's amazing for us, the auto reading. And what that means to me is we're really, really focused on foundational skills right now. and we're making some great gains in students with their foundational skills. So that's a really bright spot as well. Next screen. And then the last test we give is called CBM reading. So again, that's the oral reading proficiency. So we made a 7% or a 8% jump in district with oral reading proficiency. So that's fluency, how well students reading with fluency without pausing on words and trying to sound out words. Instead, it's very fluent for them. So you can see the results for Little Mountain, Pinewood, and nature-based if you look across the board. And again, the trends we're looking for are down in the pink and red and up in the purple as much as we can. Some of the data that I don't have up here are the middle school, 6 through 8. I didn't put that up there. That's helping us grow in that fluency and that auto reading proficiency. So that's where the 51% comes from. But we're on the right track. We've got some work to do. We take a deep dive into this data. We really look at where are our weaknesses, what do we have to work more on, what strategies do we have to improve upon. So that's what we're doing right now in the wintertime.
What's going on with Pinewood there, in the purple?
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at, is what is happening with those. And I think a little bit of it probably is with the new curriculum that we have. It's taking teachers a while to get used to the pacing, and so they don't always get to the very end of the lesson because the pacing isn't quite there yet. And the reading fluency passages come at the very end of the lesson. So sometimes when teachers are running out of time, they don't end up getting to that oral reading passage at the very end. So we're working hard with teachers right now to really make sure that's something you never skip, something that has to be part of every lesson. And then as we're working that into the lessons now, we're hoping to see that improve. But like last year, Little Mountain had functional phonics as a curriculum in the elementary level, but Pinewood is brand new to it. And so that's what I'm talking about. Those lessons in functional phonics, the very last thing in every lesson is reading fluency passages. So it's new to the Pinewood teachers. We're not so new to the Little Mountain teachers. That's why you see a little bit of a difference there. Something we're working on with our reading coaching, though. So should improve.
And I have a quick question on the proximity of some risk relative to low risk or high risk. And in essence, my question is, of those that are in the some risk, how close are they to getting into the low risk? Or are we on the other end of the spectrum where we're a chance of moving a lot more to the high risk?
Yeah.
Can you break that down, or do you have any more information on that?
We can create graphs through EduClimber that just will plot all the scores on one map where you could see how close they are to being to the next range, up or down. We can put that graph together for you and give that to you, because that is a really good question. We've asked ourselves that too. Who's just 1 point off of being the next one up, or 1 point off of moving the next level down?
You'll know where to focus a little more intensely on those ones.
So we can provide that for you.
Okay.
For sure, by the end of the year, we'll have that, but I can get it to you earlier for where we're at right now, too. Yep. Any other questions on this data before we move forward?
Is this data provided to parents at the parent-teacher conference for their individual student?
Yeah. There's a parent, I forget the name of it, but it's a parent report, parent progress report. And so when they come to conferences on the 29th, every parent will have a progress report on where their student scored on FastBridge. And so it goes into detail of whether they progressed or declined, what their score was, how close they were. It'll show them where they are in a graph as far as close to the next level or not. So it's very specific. It shows what skills exactly they're missing and some of the things that parents can do at home to help improve those skills. So all parents, I should say, should get that report for their child at conferences on the 29th. Yeah. Good question. All right, next. Our next district goal was a consistent attendance. And so we've been working hard on consistent attendance and trying to improve our attendance rates. Our goal is 88.8 by the end of the year. Actually, I want it to be 90% by the end of the year, to be honest. So if you move forward, together a little chart that kind of just shows you where each building is at, where they started in September. So at the end of every month, we aggregate the data, put it together, and look at these percentages don't see the colors very well in here, unfortunately. I should have made them darker. But all of the light green are 90% and better, and all of the gold would be 86% to 89%. Those are all very good, but if you look at the trend across for the district, we started at 86, we kind of took a little bit of a dip and landed on 86. But if you look from December to January, every single building went up or stayed the same. Nobody took a dip. And so that's very good. Little Mountain especially and Eastview have made some really great strides and have put in some strong interventions. Particularly, I would just say Kathy Hamill. She works very hard to call families, go to their homes if she has to, pick up kids. I hear she really hounds people really well, so I love that. But every single building has an attendance intervention strategy in place to really encourage families and encourage students to come to school and do whatever they can. So we're on the right track. So most people are at the 88%, most buildings, and I'm looking forward to seeing 90.
So the nature base, the low values at end of September and October, I'm guessing is driven because it's a small number of students out there.
Yeah.
Missing one or two is a big impact.
Yep.
However, the high school, 82, 82, 79, 79, 80, are below and showing a downward trend.
Yeah, that one is showing that downward trend from the beginning to the end of the year. Not atypical, but not what we want to be seeing either. And so the high school and the middle school both have the Check and Connect program that they've implemented. And that is a program where I think up to 8 teachers and counselors are assigned a handful of students that they are solely responsible to call, keep track of, meet with, mentor, touch base with families, and really try to keep them engaged in school to help improve that. So we're working hard on that Check and Connect program. I'm looking forward to the principals coming and the 2 secondary principals coming and letting us know how that's going more specifically. I don't have a lot of data on that yet. But yep, high school is declined some, and so we need to work in that area.
Would we be able to get an update on these attendance rates maybe at the end of the school year over the summer or sometime so that we can see, we have a whole year's worth of data then?
Yeah, so I can give you the link actually to the attendance tracker, and it doesn't just give the buildings, then it disaggregates all the populations within the buildings, all of the racial populations and special education, I think, and EL and all those different. So they're all disaggregated down, and it's for the whole year, and it'll automatically keep updating you every month. If you wanted to look at it, you could see where we're at.
I think
So I'll send you that look.
And out of the 6 months that we've sent a newsletter, I've sent this to families too, so that they're seeing the buildings. So if those of you, and so I try to include that in the board letter monthly, or those of you that have students, you should see that in all newsletters. The only reason we didn't include it this last time was because of the school start time. We wanted that to be the focus, and we wanted people to zero in on school start time and the resources that we have available for them in preparation of school start time changes.
Are there any trends that you're hearing from teachers or families, things that are barriers or?
If you look at kind of the November and December, oftentimes there are students from different cultures that go back home for 2 weeks to 3 weeks to a month, especially over Christmas. So we have several families that do that. They'll go back to Mexico for a month. They'll go and visit their families as part of their tradition. So that kind of does tend to dip in those couple of months. So those are a few of the things that we see. Other than that, I don't know of any other reason for some of those dips.
Well, I know, like, obviously, health
Below
concerns right now, and I think
Yes.
Eastview is getting hit hard. I believe it was Pink Eye I heard this week. So, I mean, health reasons would be always the number one. But then we are working with a couple sports associations this year as well, because there are some associations that just definitely have more requested family vacations on Fridays for tournaments and things like that. So we're trying to work with them to educate and prioritize education as much as possible. So especially like, for practices, if people are feeling, bad after a morning practice, that's the time to get them to school, because if they're going to uphold their, their game tournament experience, then the parents need to make sure that they have them there after a practice when maybe they don't feel the best. So it's really trying to educate them to be at school when you are able to be at school, so that you can take those experiences and make them part of your daily or your monthly schedule.
And so this attendance rate here at or above 90%, the excused absences are not in these numbers, or they are?
Yeah, they are. Every single thing is in here. Every excused and,
Because
every excused and unexcused absence is calculated into this. Because whether you're excused or not excused, consistent attendance does affect your success in school. It can affect your graduation rates. It's all research proven. And so we're really looking at just your total attendance at being 90% or better.
And then just for clarity, this says the end of September, end of October, end of November. This is the whole month of November, the whole month of October.
Yes, yes, yep. So it's not cumulative.
Okay.
Yep, it's separate. And yeah, Mr. Olson is right. We had a few schools that were hit very, very hard with the flu bug, where some schools were left with 3-4 students in a classroom. I don't remember what month that was, but I'm going to guess it might have been October.
I was with, probably 30 different school districts last week, and there were 3 smaller districts that actually had to shut down last week because of illnesses. So they hit the threshold where their classes weren't up to MDE's or MDH's health recommendations. So it definitely goes in waves with illnesses, for sure. But like I said, you're trying to train parents to, when your child is well enough, that's when they need to be, just even if you have to give them a little nudge when maybe they're just not feeling the vibe that day.
Because it's 18, 21, and 20% of the student population is less than 90%. So there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done on that end. It'd be interesting to see the breakdown too on the grade levels. Is it congruent across the grade levels for the same value, or is one grade impacted on there? So it'd be some interesting.
I think we can do that too. Yeah, that's good.
I think the cool part is that we actually have built a system now. We have never had a system before. It just was what it was. And so, and we were, now that we have a system and we have, each building has goals, and I can look out here, we have several administrators that are in attendance, and we're all competitive with each other. We want the best for students, and we know that this is a goal that is obtainable, but it's also one that we know that if we don't help families understand early on, and they become repetitive, it becomes a repetitive behavior. It's the statistics are saying that repetitive behavior leads to what your performance is going to be after you're done with our school experience. So we want to help people now. These are the training grounds to get people on the right track and value that, that repetition of things over and over again so it'll lead to big things in their life.
All right, next screen, please. Our third goal is graduation rates. I'm unhappy to say that we don't have anything to tell you because MDE won't put out the data until March for last year's graduates, so I still don't have any data for you, but that will come. Next slide. And then these are just some of the other important updates of things that are happening around our district. We have our K-5 ELA curriculum implementation. So we've got 2 new curriculum adoptions at the elementary level, Functional Phonics and Amplify CKLA. Our buildings are working very hard in their teaming and PLC structures to really work together and partner on implementation of those different curriculum. And then we've got our K-5 reading coaches that we've hired. So we have those at all 3 elementary buildings, and we have been receiving training through Carey for those coaches all the way through this year, and then the coaching actually started 2 weeks ago. So now we're going in and we're actually being able to observe lessons. We can find exemplars. We can find teachers who need some additional modeling and help, and we're really working hard on that. So that started just 2 weeks ago after we've had extensive training all year long. Those same teachers will do self-assessments, observations of each other and of their peers, I should say, do goal setting. So it's going to be very, very valuable to help improve our reading instruction. We're also starting to wrap up our 6 through 8 ELA curriculum review. We are in year 2 of that. We've looked at several different resources. We've kind of landed on a few. We're going to do a pilot of Amplify ELA, which does align with Amplify CKLA coming up through K through 5, although that is not the reason why we would be leaning towards this one. It is a really, really, really excellent resource, but I can share more with that with you later about that. And then we did spend some time in the last district advisory committee meeting looking at both of the 2 resources that we were examining. So more to come on that too. K through 5 literacy training. Again, we've got 34 teachers who are just wrapped up at 7 o'clock. They went from 4 to 7 tonight in their 5th round of training with letters with Lexia Learning. And so we've got 34 teachers this year taking training. We completed 34 teachers the last 2 years. We've got 50 more who have to start training by July 1st, according to the READ Act. So we're working on landing on a decision on what that training will look like. We as a district are putting together family engagement plans through our MTSS process, and the family survey was distributed to families. So far we have about 275 responses. I would like to have closer to 800. I'm hoping that we can get a lot more responses out there. We've had buildings engaged in the process. We've had DAC feedback. We've had A&I team feedback. So more to come on our family engagement plans, but just so you know, we're working hard on those too. Our EL programming, we've enhanced that quite a bit this year. We increased staffing at Eastview. We increased staffing at the middle school. We purchased a language studio curriculum that aligns with our Amplify curriculum for all of our EL students that's specific to their needs. In our secondary, we purchased an ILIT and Sunday curriculum for them. So we're working really hard to try to advance the EL programming as well. And then the last thing is increased interventions across all buildings. Elementary reading, secondary reading intervention, and check and connect, as I said, with trying to create relationships with students. And we hired a behavior analyst this year for K through 12, Emily Mitchell, who you should hear from sometime, the way that she's pushing into buildings and helping principals and staff alike. So I'm looking forward to some great outcomes by the end of the school year. Fingers crossed. Questions?
We have 2, but I'll let
I was just going to say thank you. I know that the guidance from the legislature mandates that came down last year came down quickly, and you were already ahead of the plan, very proactive, putting a lot of these in place before those mandates even came down. So I think that allows us to be a little further ahead of the game. I'm really impressed with getting the teachers through the letters training. That's really impressive when I look at where we were at last year. So congratulations to you for getting that program accelerated as quickly, and to all of the staff and the administrators that are supporting that, because I know it's a very big undertaking. It's how many hundreds of hours is it?
120 hours.
120 hours for each individual elementary teacher to have that training. So that's a phonics-based science of reading
Structured literacy curriculum.
Exactly. So I just want to say thank you for that, because I think that's going to make a big difference in our literacy numbers over time. And I'm just looking forward to seeing those numbers continue to improve.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too. Make a big improvement.
Yeah, and I second Kathy's comments. I just have 2 questions.
Sure.
Back on the attendance.
Yeah.
That slide.
Back up.
Yep.
Can you go backward? One more.
So my question is, how do you turn this into a positive spin a little bit? So this is based off of a 90%. So you have the high school 82%. It'd be interesting to see the raw data. So for example, if that was 88%, is that now 96% of the students? Like how close are we to missing that 90% on there? And the second question is the ALP, we just kind of skipped over. If we can hear some thoughts on the ALP and why those numbers are so low and what we can do to help motivate that section as well.
Yeah. This is not an excuse or anything, but as I did research other ALPs and looked at their attendance rates, they were even lower, way lower than this. Our alternative students operate on a very different schedule. Many of them have jobs outside of school. Many of them may work in the morning and then come late to school partway through the day or leave partway through the day. So remember, the 90% is based on attending a full day of school. Yeah, so if they miss half a day of school, they're at 50% attendance. Consistently, that has been an issue, motivation. So we are doing some things next year to change our ALP. We are doing, our ALP is now going to be contained within our high school.
He's
Over to the other side.
moving up to help you.
Help me out, David.
I would say Mr. Rue had the same response, because these numbers were presented, I think, earlier. I gotta talk into the mic.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, David Reeves.
Assistant principal.
Assistant principal at Alternative Learning Programming with the 882 Online, and that's a wonderful question, because those numbers are stark, right? And similar data had been presented into like years prior, and I had the same reaction. It's a little bit of a, for lack of a better term, a holy crap statistic, right? So yeah, to Cindy's point, the state of Minnesota puts out what's the website called, Cindy? Report card. Yep, and it has all the data from all the schools. So when you start comparing similar demographics and similar, it stacks up in a way that's more similar, right? Also, when you talk about like ALP, you are looking at an intervention to get kids for kids that have been spending years throughout their elementary, middle school, and high school, obviously not coming to school, but pursuing away from school. Now we're trying to get them to, let's come back into it, right? We're trying to pursue them to get back into it. And what's interesting about it is the demographics are different. So the bulk of our students, mandatory attendance doesn't apply. They're 18 years old, they're 19 years old, they're 20 years old, so they're not falling under truancy issues and things like that. So it really becomes a partnership with adult students about, why is this important for you? How can we get you, the barometer isn't necessarily, I get that the goal is 90% district-wide, but, can we get you here 60% of the days, 70% of the days, and make small steps of improvement that way? A lot of times, again, for us, that's not punitively based. It is for our 16, 17-year-old students because they're still under truancy. But for our 18 and 19-year-old students, a lot of times that's more, how can we meet you where you're at with your pregnancy, with your job, with your responsibilities out? How can we set a schedule in place for you that encourages you to handle both your school well and your outside responsibilities well? And that looks like lower attendance rates, but it also looks like just trying to meet kids where they're at in their adult lives, so to speak, and encourage them where they're at. So
yeah, and a lot of it is more to, from the board, what other help do you need from us to help you be more successful in the program? So maybe it's a follow-up meeting, maybe it's a little more digging into this. I'm not expecting all the answers on this.
I mean, if I had to offer something, I would say you need a different standard to measure your students by. This standard doesn't work.
Sure.
That particular population of students. So the question would be are they where they're supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be there? Not, if they have, work release and they're going to a job, then we shouldn't penalize them for not being at school for a whole day because they were where they were supposed to be on their plan for their alternative learning experience.
Yes, maybe it's a different way of looking at the data and seeing what those drivers are.
It would make our numbers look a little better if we had a different metric. Because it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, your students are by and large, you're working hard to get them where they are supposed to be at the time they're supposed to be there. It's not just a matter of them not showing up. And so I would just hate for us to insinuate that they're.
I don't want to come across as like a negative comment. That's why it's like, how can we help? And, you know, to your comment, there's the 90% and we're 18%, 13. If there's other extenuating weighting circumstances, you know, maybe we look at this differently for that program. Because it is such a drastic drop in comparison to let's say, the normal regular school process.
It's about achieving, you know, there's not microwave results on it, right, too? It's about achieving a paradigm shift. And how do I view my school attendance? How do I view the trajectory of what that means? You know, and for kids and families that haven't seen a lot of positive attendance data, you know, that there's not a magic bullet for that, right? So a lot of it is just really leaning into kids with high student-to-staff ratios, or high staff-to-student ratios, I should say, and putting on that mentoring cap. And we're trying to make strides with Check and Connect and all of those things as well, to just form relationships and mentor kids into decisions that this is why attendance is important for you. You know, this is the objective data that shows why that's important for you. And again, that's an ongoing, everyday process. And yeah, again, wish the results came quicker. They don't, but at the same time, the merit and the ethic into those everyday intentional conversations with kids is what we do and why we're there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I don't lose sight of that. And, you know, maybe we do like this a different metric and different way of measuring it. You know, so it's not just such a drastic, you know, one direct number. So I think there's a positive way of looking at this and seeing what, you know, how we can look at it differently and have further discussion on that. So.
And I wouldn't mind re-emphasizing something that Mr. Reeves said right away, but one of the efforts that we are doing and currently we're working on building, Mr. Reeves and Mr. Colwell have done some visits outside of our district, and that's why we are letting the ALP lease go for next year, and we're trying to build some more additional engaging pathways to our program through our existing high school. So some of the classes that are either in-house or right tech opportunities, but opportunities for students to have you know, pathways to programs that they are passionate about rather than the computer-based program that it is right now. And so we're seeing, we believe that by building engaging pathways that we will re-engage a percentage of that population to feel comfortable coming into the school because they're going to be at a place that they want to be at. So those are some of the changes that we're building right now. Once again, like you're learning, we all learn that education has changed, is changing, and the good thing is we get to support education changes, I think, faster than we used to, and we're being very attentive to that. So another pathway that's really important to ALPs that we believe is the online and ALP together because of some work responsibilities or life responsibilities. And the more we can connect that, and obviously just by having Mr. Reeves here as a principal for those programs and combining them this year, we believe will lead to another pathway that will be a great alternative choice for kids. So.
Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, like, we're here to help. So it's whatever we can do to help you and everyone else be successful. That's what we want to do. So
I hear it. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
The good news is you had a 10% increase from the beginning of the year. All that hard work. So anything else?
Lots of statistics, lots of trends going different directions, right? How would you grade the district-wide effort in the 3 goals that we've talked about year to date?
I would give us a B+ in the reading area across the district. And I don't think we have enough, and I would give us an B+ in attendance as well. Can't say much about the rest. As far as all the other school improvement efforts that we have going, that aren't data related necessarily. I have to say that you have to give everybody an A, to be honest. The hard work that's going on behind the scenes with all of the buildings and principals, with all the different things that are happening to try to improve all at once. Like, I think we're going to see huge changes in our data because of all the work that's happening behind the scenes. It's not me, it's all those people doing all that hard work behind the scenes, but our teachers. Just ask them how hard they're working. So I have to give them an A for sure.
Thank you for saying that, Cindy.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you, Cindy. So moving on to item number C, under Section 7, we have calendar changes for the 2024-2025 academic year. Superintendent Olson is going to brief us on those.
Yeah, so at the work session, it was asked if we could have a calendar that just showed all the changes on one calendar. So any place there is a red circle, those dates have changed. They either have been added to connect to the trimester schedule, or they've been taken away to balance and make way for the combination of either the semester or trimester schedule. So just looking at this calendar, obviously the one that we would send out to families would not have the circles, but just going month by month, you see that October, there were no changes, November, no changes, and then December, one change. December, there was the date for the trimester change was changed from the semester change. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the trimester change on that one. And then in January, there is a date that we had as a semester change where we had two dates. So it would have been the 20th and 21st. And we balanced that by splitting it with the December date. So the semester and trimester each have that day for professional development, preparation for the next course that they will be teaching, or preparation for the new grading period. Going forward to February, no changes. March, the changes just flipped from the 20th and 21st. That's where they were. And then knowing that we could get our conferences and our time in and help out the trimester schedule a little bit, we just moved those up to the 6th and 7th. And then once again, then we go through 3 months of no changes. So very little changes, but just enough changes that it's important to bring these forward to the board for approval and then get them out to families so that they can start planning. The number of days did not change, and the earlier we get this out to families, the more they can plan for their next year's educational journey.
Are there any questions for Superintendent Olson from the board? Okay, this is an action item to move these changes for the 2024-2025 calendar year.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jamie Sieben, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor of the calendar changes as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, please say no. Calendar changes pass 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to innovation and leadership, section number A, we have Tina Burkholter, Director of Business Services, to the podium. Welcome, Tina.
Good evening. So tonight, I'm coming back to you for a recommendation of change for the board chair pay. Looking at the latest pay tax schedules in our payroll system, I think the goal of the board was to have the board chair net out around $500 per month. So I'm recommending a board chair monthly stipend of $541.50, if that is still the plan of increasing the board chair stipend. And then maybe in May, when we're developing the budget for next year, we'll revisit the existing board member pay.
Any discussion by the board? An action item.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jamie Sieben, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. I am abstaining, so the vote is 4-0 with one abstention.
Thank you.
Passes, thank you. Moving on to our second reading of policies, please welcome Director of Human Resources, Mr. Rob Daniker, to the podium for second reading of a number of policies.
Chair Ziebarth, members of the board, a little technical difficulties here. We gotta move some tape on our microphone. Sorry, guys. All right, so we have a second reading of several policies for this evening. The first three policies we're going to look at, these are policies that are coming before the board due to MSBA update. We also have several that were due to annual review process as well. I'm going to start with 419, tobacco-free environment. The purpose of this policy is to maintain a learning and working environment that is tobacco-free. During the committee, the board's policy committee review of this one, we did have some questions that led us to reach out to Terry Morrow from MSBA for clarification. Specifically, there was Article 2, Section A talks about prohibition on tobacco use, and there's a line about prohibition includes vehicles used in whole or part for work purposes, and that was regarding private vehicles used for work purposes, such as personal vehicles that would bill back the district for mileage at the IRS rate. And so we did insert the word private after the first reading, but prior to tonight for the second reading in front of that vehicles to reference private vehicles, make it more clear. We also had a inquiry regarding Article 4, Section A of this policy. The policy committee noted that there was inconsistent usage of the term American Indian and Indian in that section. And in talking with Terry Morrow, he pointed out that that actually comes directly from the state statute on relevant topic. And so the recommendation to the board tonight in your action item on 419 is to leave that language intact, as again, it directly relates back, to state statute. Any questions at all on 419 otherwise?
Nope, go ahead.
All right. Policy 418, drug-free workplace, drug-free school. The purpose of this policy is to maintain a safe and healthful environment for employees and students by prohibiting the use of alcohol, toxic substances, medical cannabis, non-intoxicating cannabinoids, edible cannabinoid products, and controlled substances without a legally authorized prescriber's prescription. There was no changes in this policy, draft policy, after the first reading and prior to tonight.
Is there any discussion or questions on policy number 418? Okay.
Policy 406, public and private personnel data. The purpose of this policy is to provide guidance to school district employees as to the data the school district collects and maintains regarding its employees, volunteers, independent contractors, and applicants. Similar to the previous policy, there were no further discussions or changes to this draft preceding tonight.
Any questions from the board? Okay, moving on.
Policy 102 is equal education opportunity. The purpose of this policy is to ensure that equal educational opportunity is provided for all students of the school district. This is a fairly straightforward policy in the 100 section and fairly perfunctory in purpose, and again, no changes prior to this evening in terms of the draft.
Any questions from the board? Okay, moving on.
All right, policy 806 is crisis management policy. A little bit longer purpose statement here, so bear with me. The purpose of this model crisis management policy is to act as a guide for school district and building administrators, school employees, students, school board members, and community members to address a wide range of potential crisis situations in the school district. The step-by-step procedures suggested by this policy will provide guidance to each school building in drafting crisis management plans to coordinate protective actions prior to, during, and after any type of emergency or potential crisis situation. Each school district should develop tailored building-specific crisis management plans for each school building in the school district, and sections or procedures may be added or deleted in those crisis management plans based on building needs. Overall, this is as the purpose identifies, this is a broad overview of crisis management policy and planning for a district, and as appropriate, and as mentioned in the purpose statement, specific buildings will craft more detailed plans specific to their buildings.
I wouldn't mind just giving an update to the policy committee. They did ask me to schedule a meeting with Homeland Security, so I did schedule a meeting in June, and I'll get those dates to you. But I reached out to them last week, and we have a date set. So they'll come in and do a little seminar with all of our procedures and policy, and make sure that we're up to speed. They'll have our procedures for all the different crises that could happen in the school a couple months prior to that meeting, and they're reviewing it right now. So is to spend a little time with Homeland Security and ask any questions with accordance to our policy and procedures.
And you said June? They're coming in June? Any questions or discussion from the board?
Yes, Mr. Daniker. Would you say that all staff, in your opinion, are adequately trained in this policy?
Well, we're required to provide training for all staff. In terms of, it's a little bit difficult for me to say because your question is a little bit outside of the purviews of my job responsibilities.
Understand that.
So for instance, between the superintendent, director of buildings and grounds, and building principals, they're probably better equipped to answer the substance of your question in terms of the quality of instruction and the quality of information that individual employees have. But it's certainly the expectation of this policy that they have that information.
Do you have any input?
I believe that we take great strides. We make great strides every year. I think you can never be, too safe, right? So it's something that we have all our building principals working quarterly with our school resource officers and their crisis management teams to make sure that they've thought of the things that they need to at their building level. They go through the previous training that they may have had and saw what went well and discuss what went well. They discuss what improvement areas are needed. So I think it's really part of our culture now where instead of just one or two times of, 5 trainings a year is what we have at each building. Now we have, in between all those buildings, are discussions with the appropriate officials to keep pushing us. So we keep trying to push the limit and make sure that we increase the rigor of training every year. And so I do believe that I've been here a long time, and I believe that we are giving it the attention that it does, that makes us better. But we still need to continue to give it more attention.
I'd like to add too that we've had a lot of discussion in policy committee because we are one of 2 districts in the state of Minnesota that are within the catchment area of a nuclear equipment generating facility, and so we're very aware of that, and that's also part of our guidance coming from the state of Minnesota and Homeland Security, and so that we've taken that to heart and made sure that we've added to our policies in an appropriate way with that guidance.
Can't remember which board members sit on a committee that would be, relevant with the Homeland Security coming, but they're coming on June 13th at 9 o'clock. So I'd have to look at committee assignments to see who best meets that type of activity.
Any additional questions on 806 from the board? Okay, moving on.
Next one is draft policy 616, school district system accountability. Purpose of this policy is to focus public education strategies on a process that promotes higher academic achievement for all students and ensures broad-based community participation in decisions regarding implementation of the Minnesota K-12 academic standards and federal law. Within this policy, we did create some links in the policy. One is to the Monticello Public Schools curriculum review cycle for the years 2022 to 2028. That is found on page 2. Also on page 2, we had to determine the date by which each year the District Advisory Committee will meet to advise and assist the school district in the implementation of school district accountability and comprehensive continuous improvement process. And then we also articulated later on page 3 and also pages 4, basically the roles and responsibility of that District Advisory Committee.
Is there any discussion or questions from the board? Okay, moving on.
Moving on to draft policy 410, family and medical leave policy. The draft we did make one amendment following the first read, and that is found on page 1 under section 3, Article 3, section C. And in a human resources final review of this draft policy, we noted that the definition of eligible employee that was provided by MSBA was unnecessarily vague. And so what we did was we reverted to the federal language since this is a federal mandate. And so 4 qualifications of an eligible employee include works for a covered employer, has worked 1,250 hours during the previous 12 months, works at a location where the employer has 50 or more employees within 75 miles, and has worked for the employer for 12 months. Those were not specifically called out in the MSBA draft, and so we added those prior to the second read.
Any questions from the board? Okay, moving on.
And the last one is draft policy 905 regarding advertising. This one is, we had some significant committee discussion regarding this one as well. Primarily around, there's a phrase in here about the construction of advertising. It's in Article 3, Section B. It states that in no instance will an advertising device be erected or maintained within 100 feet of a school that is visible to and primarily intended to advertise and inform or to attract, or which does attract the attention of operators and occupants of motor vehicles. In a follow-up with Terry Morrow from MSBA, we did inquire as to the purpose of that particular language. Was it attempting to prohibit the construction of, let's say, a billboard for advertising 100 feet adjacent of school district property, et cetera? And Terry said, I don't know exactly why it's in the statute, but it's actually in the statute. And so he directed us to Minnesota statute, and it's almost word for word that. And so it doesn't matter who constructs the advertising device, it's the fact that such an advertising device is strictly prohibited by law.
Any questions or discussion from the board?
I just want to add a comment on the policy. As people can see, there's a lot of work that goes into policy. There's some board members and there's a lot of administrative staff that help us go through these. There's other districts where they don't even have really a working policy committee and everything's just passed through as is. So we do catch a lot and tailor everything that we can for our district to make a positive impact. So I just want to say thank you to all the administrators that help us do that as well.
Thank you to the board members who serve on the committee as well. It's a great conversation every month, and it's time well spent. So thank you for calling that out.
Okay, having reached the end, we have to move these policies, and we can move them as a group if desired by the board or individually at your preference.
I think we agreed at previous meetings to do a group.
So moved.
Second.
Policies are being moved by Jamie Sieben as a group, seconded by Melissa Curtis. All those in favor of approving the policies as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Policies pass 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Daniker.
Thank you.
And finding that we have reached the end of our agenda, we are adjourned at 7:54 p.m. Thank you.